Joining me today are authors Ia Fekwa and her sister Meg DeLong. Their new book is Tidying Up 100 Ways to Infuse Order and Joy into Every Area of Your Home. Just in time for the bustling holiday season when guests, gatherings, and gift wrap tend to take over, Ia Fekwa and Meg DeLong share simple, uplifting strategies to create welcoming, clutter free spaces. But their approach goes far beyond seasonal sprucing. They dive into how small intentional habits can transform your home into a calm, joyful environment all year long. They are the brilliant minds behind the Tidy Home Nashville. These two sisters have seen it all and have helped countless clients tackle their living spaces and create peaceful and practical homes using a non judgmental, empowering approach and a sense of style. Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok are the main marketing vehicles used by the Tidy Home. They began their Instagram account in April 2019 and now have 26,000 followers, a feat they attribute to the generosity of ideas they provide their followers. And their Pinterest account has some 10,000 monthly viewers. The sisters want to provide ideas that all followers can do at home, whether they hire them or not. Welcome to the show. Great having you on the show, guys.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here.
Well,
Yes, thank you.
I think the great thing about tidying up is this is something that I think it affects all of us in different ways, no matter what stage of life we're at, right? Whether we are moving to a new home or we have a bigger family, or you can list all the scenarios, but that's what makes it the book so compelling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like for us, that's always been something so important to us is to meet people where they are because I feel like individuals they judge themselves enough, And so we like to come into their homes and to be able to offer an approach that actually works for them and their family, because everyone's so different, and so their houses are different, their work is different. So for us, we really like to cater to each person and to make their space work for what they actually have going on.
So you take obviously a unique individual approach, but why can't we let go of things? Why do we need you? Because we do need you. I mean, why can't we clean up, hire a cleaning person to come in, as you say, you're not cleaning persons. Um, but there's some reason why, and maybe different reasons. I'm a social worker, emotional reasons why we can't let go. What's our problem?
I think it's really hard to do that in your own space. I mean, it's hard for us to even do it in your own space. I don't think you have like a great perspective when you're looking at your own stuff, and we're always big believers on we're not going to make anyone get rid of anything that, like we're not going to have a fight over it. Like if an item means something to you, we're all for that. But I think it's hard to have like the discretion and discernment when you're looking at your own stuff.
So when you go into somebody's house, what's the first thing you do? They call you up, they set up an appointment, you go in. Is it virtual or how does that work?
Yeah, actually, I handle all of our in-person consultations. And so we actually go, most of the time, we go in person. I meet the client, I talk to them about their trouble points. And it's always so funny because this is how it always goes. They'll call me for, let's just say, their pantry. But by the end of the consultation, I've looked at like everything in their house, because they're like, you're here. Why don't you go ahead and look? And I just try to but while I'm looking at their house, I really am creating a story in my head. Okay, it's like, okay, you have a busy mom. She has three kids. Okay, I see a pile of sports equipment. Okay, cool. I know that they're very busy with sports. You can tell all of these little stories a part of their life. So I'm taking all of that in within, 30 minutes to an hour to try to piece together, okay, what is this person needing? What kind of system do they need? If they're home a lot, that's going to look a lot different than if they're gone a lot, And so I really go in, I open every cabinet, every drawer, and I look at everything. And obviously, if they're comfortable with that, and I just really start piecing together in my brain, okay, what can we do to help them?
Well, it's interesting you should say that because when you said if they let you open the cabinets, because I'm kind of going back to, you're like a therapist who comes into your house. They have to trust you. This is like the most intimate stuff they have. And like when
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you're both different. You each have different personalities, I assume, different things to add to the picture. So, um, let's talk about that. You step in the door, and okay, as a client, I would feel exposed. You're going
Yeah.
into my bathroom, my bedroom, my kids' room, all of those. Who wants to
I
start?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, when they have us come, when they've made that decision, I think that they have decided it's time for them to be vulnerable, and
Yeah.
show someone what's really going on so that they can receive the help. There's not a lot of people that, surprisingly, in our almost 7 years of business, there's not been a ton of people who haven't led us into all of those areas because I think they just come to a place in their life where they realize they need the help.
So they're almost in a crisis mode, let's say, right? They just are stuck, or
Absolutely.
they're stuck at the very least, right? For whatever.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think too that if we have had clients that aren't willing to really let us do things, I don't think they're actually ready for the service. And I think we've seen that. Like it's like this just isn't it's you're not allowing us to do the service that we actually offer. So
Yeah.
it gets a little tricky.
Now you talk about and I'm not sure whether I'm talking to Meg or to because this is just audio. So you can identify yourselves as you want to, but I mean, both of you have really interesting and things to say and also different perspective. But you walk into I'm thinking about they let you in the door, okay, and they're accepting you into their home, etc. But so like I know for myself, I'll sit down and look at all my stuff. I want to get rid of it. I know I shouldn't be keeping it all. I'll say, well, this has to do with this thing represents something. It's a memory. I should keep it.
Mhm.
If I throw this away, I'm throwing away the memory. But that's not true necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, what a things like my kids' basketball championship. I've got. What do you do with that stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're big. I mean,
yeah,
we're really big on keeping the things that do mean something to you. I feel like a big part of what we do that's kind of hard to get across in like simple marketing, is that we want people to live with intention, right? And so you're okay, let's say you really value that soccer championship
yeah.
trophy. Okay, if that means something to you, what can we do with that honors that memory? If you really want to keep it, we kind of go through a series of questions here is like, do you want to display it somewhere? Does it mean that much to you that you can display it somewhere? Do you want to give it to your child so they have it in their house? That's saying if they are gone out of the house. And two, if neither one of those things is something you want to do, can we store it away somewhere that you know where it is and you feel comfortable storing it elsewhere? Because I mean, we have kids, we know how it goes. We love keeping those little meaningful things, but something I have found that's fun and freeing whenever I have something of my son's that means like, it's just cute. I mean, he's 9, so he's young, but I think to myself, can I set this out to where I'm gonna like it? And like not just me, but are other people gonna enjoy this? So I have a spot in his room where I decorate using his mementos, and it's
Mhm.
not overwhelming. I'm not keeping everything out, but those really special things were like, display it if you can, but if you're going for a really clean home, like look and, minimalism, if that's your vibe, then we're going to have to come up with a storage solution. And so I can't tell you how many people don't really think about storing mementos. In their head, I think they think about it, but in actuality, they don't know how to store things. And so for us, we're like, hey, get a bin per kid. Let's just say you have kids. Get a bin per kid and let's like start a memento bin. We started so many for people because I think they get overwhelmed with, okay, how do I differentiate between what I actually want to keep and what I don't need to keep of theirs? And so you said, I want to keep the memory. So do I want to keep the thing? And that's something we tell people is, obviously the memory is in your brain, right? It's in your heart. Like you can remember that. So is that more valuable than having to keep a physical thing? And if you really present that to people, they're really able to kind of come up with, okay, you're right. I don't need to keep this right now. I have that memory and that's enough for me. And
Yeah.
so, but sometimes people do want to keep stuff. And so we really like to figure out how do we honor that thing? If it's that important, how do we honor it?
Okay. The next question then. What about when and this is another issue I think that I know a lot of my friends have this issue. I'm thinking of one in particular. Actually, I hope she's not listening to the show because I'm gonna give an example. She has a closet full of clothes from that she has saved for 30 years. I mean, it's almost like the size of a small bedroom. Time to
Mhm.
get rid of it. I'm not the one who can say it to her. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys probably could, but it will look at clothes and think, well, maybe a few pounds overweight, it'll fit next year, or maybe it'll come back into style. What do you do with that stuff? Those are two questions, I guess.
This is
Yeah.
Ia. I think that an important part of that is thinking about how those items make you feel. If you're looking at them and every time, let's just say every time she goes in that closet, she doesn't feel great because she thinks, oh, I used to be 20 pounds smaller and I could fit into these, and I haven't been able to do that in 30 years. That's not a super great feeling. So I think really pinpointing that, like, what kind of
Mhm.
value is that bringing to you? It's taking up space and it's probably not making you feel great mentally.
How do I
Yeah.
feel? That's a great question. I mean, that would seem to me to apply to all of these things that we're talking about, right? How does it make me feel? And if you realize
Yeah.
that, that's a great, you sit down and think about it. This is not making me feel good. I don't have space for it. I'm 20 pounds heavier. You can have a list of how it makes you feel bad, I guess, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's kinda like a double whammy. It's taking up valuable space in your home and it's taking up space in your brain, Like, that just seems that's just a really it's negative, Like, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. That doesn't mean it's that case for everyone, but I think for women a lot of times, I feel like those things are associated with negative feelings.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, there's a heaviness that comes with it, It's
Yeah.
like it's a constant reminder of, okay, you've changed, right? And so things physically have changed, maybe you're in a different place of life that's changed, maybe mentally you've changed, and so I feel like when you keep those types of things around, it's just yeah, I mean, it can
Yeah.
be as simple as it just doesn't make you feel good, and you're like, is life worth that? And this is coming from personal experience too. I have PCOS. I gained like 30 pounds and I was trying to keep some clothes because I was like, I love those clothes I bought, but it was a constant reminder, okay, I'm in a different season of life and how do I love myself right now? And, for me, it was truly getting rid of those things, because I was
Yeah.
like, I need to buy things that fit me now that make me feel beautiful. I don't want to cram myself in those tiny jeans
Yeah.
anymore. I want to be able to honor where I'm at today. And again, going back to that intention, I want to intentionally live well. And if I have a sore spot in my brain of like those jeans are in a storage bin waiting for me, it stays with you, right? And
Yeah.
so I just it's so what we try to do is work with women and to say, hey, I mean, we had to ask vulnerable questions, and it's like I feel sometimes awkward, because yeah, like what you said, we're just two people, or if our team of four is coming in, we really have to ask personal questions of like, hey, like, are you guys wanting to have kids again? Are you guys like, do you want to try to keep these clothes? What is your goal here? And so you have to really get vulnerable with people and meet them where they are to see what can we do to move forward that makes you feel better every single day in your home.
Yeah, it's
What
freeing as you're describing it, and you're
Yeah.
describing your illness and being able to actually say goodbye to it because you don't need this stuff to remind you of the way things were necessarily. That brings me to like even maybe this is a little bit darker, but like people like get divorced and they have
Mhm.
tons of stuff. How did they get rid of that? Because that's tied up with a lot of, relationships, memories, etc. And the second one would be death when somebody dies and you've got
I
all
was
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was like, I have a darker thought for you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
No,
go
it's
for it.
it's
Meg,
death,
Meg, I'll let
what?
you speak on divorce. She's the divorced one between the two of us,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
Go ahead.
you
You're
would
the
have more
expert.
thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like those are the big life changes that can either take away things in your life or add an abundant amount of stuff to your life. So divorce, for me, I didn't have I okay, this is kind of coming. I'm organized. I am pretty minimal, so that is like the perspective here. I didn't have a ton of stuff whenever I was with my previous husband, and we just had one child together. So, we didn't have like a ton of stuff to have to deal with. But, you do have to think about, again, I know I keep saying intentionally living, but for me, whenever I was going through everything, I was like, okay, what do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of? And what do I want to pass down to my son? I kind of
Yeah.
separated my life into those three categories of what's moving forward with me, what is not, and what can I give to my son that he can go through one day when he's old enough. So, for instance, I love holidays, I love Christmas. So, we had so many ornaments together. We were together for almost 10 years. And I decided, you know what? Instead of getting rid of these ornaments, I'm going to put them in a memento bin for my son. And that way, when he's older and he has his own tree, he can decide does he want to keep these divorce
Yeah.
ornaments or not, And then he might not, but that's his decision. And like, I can help him make that if he wants me to. But I didn't want to just get rid of it and then not give him the opportunity to decide if he wants to keep things or not because he has a great relationship with me and his dad, you
Yeah.
know?
That's a great way of doing it. I mean, that's because many times, as you guys obviously know, I mean, they get divorced, they're angry, they're ready
Oh,
either
yeah.
to throw the stuff out, all of it, and as you say, you might want to keep it for your children, and so you really have to be intentional. You have to sit down and think about it. I mean, I got
Oh,
divorced too
yeah.
after 20 years. I had stuff in my
Mhm.
garage that had never been opened. I, on the other hand, said, I don't even want to open it. Come over here. If you want it, take it. Neither one of us wanted it. I think we just got
Yeah,
rid of it. Yeah. And it was, I don't even, well, I don't miss it. So, yeah,
correct. It's like you're like, "Oh, I can live without this
I
thing."
can live without, I'm living without it now. So I don't, yeah, right.
Well,
So,
you said made me think about this. Okay, so this sounds like a little sad, but I moved forward and I was like, you know what? I'm starting over. Like, I don't want the hand towels. I don't want the pots and pans.
yeah.
I just was like, I don't want any of this stuff. I'll start over. I gave it to my previous husband because he needed it. But I will tell you, this sounds like so sad. I went to his place one time to get Elliot. I was helping him with something, which didn't happen often, but I saw after, because we've been split up for about 6 years now. And I saw that he still had those hand towels from when we were married, and it made me feel some sort of way. I felt so bad for him. I was like, "You have our marriage hand towels. Like, I wish you could get rid of these things because I feel like there's just memories attached to some items, especially when you go through a divorce or something like that. Like, he might not have felt like that, but I want to think that he did. I'm like, he has the same stuff that when we were together, he still has it. And I'm like, I bought those things and they're still in his house, you know? Like, I
Yeah.
was like, that would make me feel weird, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, he's still grieving maybe, and holding on
Correct.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
or as you say, holding on to the past. I can give you
Absolutely.
another example. When my father died, my 30, after my mother had 35 years of marriage, a good marriage. She was a person who, and then her second husband died too, 20 years later.
Mhm.
That's another story. But anyway, what she does, she would change the room around, get rid of the things that were and kind of the stuff, the television, things like that, and then put up a new lamp or change the room or do those kinds of things and not keep everything. And it was kind of like a new beginning, and
Absolutely.
instead of hanging on to it, although a lot of people, as you say, do hang on to it.
I think, about the second fact that you make, like, when someone passes away,
Yeah.
excuse me, I think we touch on this in our book, but I think an important thing to remember when someone passes away and you're given items, I think you really also have to, like, take a step back and think about make sure you're keeping the items that mean something to you as well. Like, I feel like people feel guilty and they feel like, I was given all of these things. And I feel like if you were given 5 items, maybe only 2 of them mean something to you attached to that person. So I think, like, being very deliberate about keeping the items that spark a memory or a great feeling for you attached to the person, like, I don't feel like we should feel like we have to keep everything that was passed down to us just because the person passed away.
Well, so in other words, we don't have to feel even sentimental about the gift. It's really the gesture that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's a nice gesture, but I don't feel like we then like I feel like some people like they feel like they need to take in all the items, like this
Mhm.
was my mother's and I feel like I should hold on to everything. But really some of that stuff means nothing to you, so it's not
yeah,
even reminding you of your like in this situation your mother, like
yeah.
maybe there is a sweater or a cookbook or just, like the things that really spark a memory for you, I feel like is what you should hold on to.
What about, okay, um, going with that intention or that thought, what about when the kids say, "Oh, you can't, you need to keep this because whatever the reason is. This reminds me of grandma," or, you need to keep my papers from second grade or whatever. How do, which, yeah. Um, what do you
That
do?
Well, I'm
does
I'm
happen.
probably yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I'm probably not the best person. I have been known to toss kids paperwork for school in like a gas station trash can just so it's not in my home where they could find it. So I might not be the best person, but
Yep.
um gosh, I mean, I feel like this is kind of hard to practice like in actual life, but in theory it's easy. And I feel like if you set yourself up on this pattern, I feel like it could be easily done. But I try to like save a larger majority of like my kids' stuff they bring home from school, or now that they're older, they don't care as much. But when they were younger, they did. And I would keep more than I thought was necessary through the school year, and then we have a school memento bin, and then, like, at the end of that school year, I would have them go through it with me, and, I mean, honestly, it would be surprising what they didn't care about anymore once it got to, like, the end of that school year, so they would be more particular about what they actually wanted to keep, and that's the stuff I would tuck away for them.
So timing is everything, you're saying, right?
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like they were like, "Well, I'm over 3rd grade, like,
Yeah.
I already did it, and so I honestly don't care about this anymore," So,
Right.
I think that's interesting is allowing them to kinda keep like, obviously, they can't keep everything. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, "If I kept everything that you guys wanted me to, we wouldn't have room in our home,"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there would be paper everywhere. But I think like letting them keep more than you really think is necessary, like if they're really like, this means something to me, and then letting them revisit it, yeah, I mean, they're actually able to make some pretty good decisions.
Yeah.
You
And
know, oh,
yeah, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking about we have a client and her kids are about our age. And so, you saying like, okay, they want to keep stuff. And that's something I was thinking about with that client was that she felt pressure to keep things. The client was the mom, like the older mom. And so she felt pressure to keep things for her daughters who are grown. And I just remember thinking and saying to her, because we got close, and I was like, can't they keep this stuff now? Can't they take it on? And she's like, no, they don't have room. And then that really made me think so much because I was like, okay, you don't have room in your house. They don't have room in their house. So what's the point here? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like thinking through those things of what are we doing? Like if you're just shoving it in an attic or you're shoving it on this dusty little storage rack somewhere, what's going on? Are we
Yeah.
able to like pare down some? And I think it's presenting those things. I mean, again, we come in, we act like a buddy to people where we can truly help them think about things a little bit. But if you're doing it on your own, we understand why it's so tricky, because we try to present all those things. It's like, okay, you don't have space, they don't have space. So what are we going to do here? What's the solution? That doesn't mean you just have to throw everything out, but is there something temporarily we can do? Can you get a storage unit? I mean, we don't love to present that, but can you get something that's outside of your house, let's say for 3 months, and you and your family can go through these things together? But that way it's out of your house, it's not in their house yet. And you guys can really come up with a solution as a family of who's getting what,
Yeah.
that way some decisions are made.
And I also think the beauty of having you guys in the house is you are kind of like the therapist. I'm putting that in quotations. Like you're
Yeah.
not making these decisions on your own, and you have an outside person helping you to make the decision, not your ex-husband or your kids or anybody who's intimately involved with you. So that makes it very different. And I think that there isn't probably you can tell me if I'm wrong, there isn't as much pushback. They're more willing to listen to you.
Yeah, I would say the client that hired us is more willing to listen, but man, we've been in a part of a lot of awkward arguments over the years. That is, oh my gosh, yeah, just trying to be at the mid. We don't want to be the middle person, but we will be the middle person of
Yeah.
like, hey, like we're just trying to help, your wife or your husband hired us to do this. And so we're just here to help you think about things. But we have definitely been a part of some weird family moments of, the wife doesn't want to get rid of things, but the husband really is ready, and those situations, kind of like what Ia talked about earlier, is they're not ready for us. They should come together to realize their needs as a unit and to say, okay, as a husband and wife, let's just use that for example, you know,
Yeah.
we're ready to go through our stuff. We kind of really need them to both be on board because then we don't want to look like the bad guy, right? We
Yeah.
don't want to just be coming into the house and be like, okay, let's get rid of all this stuff,
Yeah.
So we try to really make sure before we've learned our lesson. So we try to make sure when we are helping people, we call it our revising session. That's like where we go in and help people purge. We try to make sure they're all on the same page and that everyone is down for what we're doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we are on we actually get to make good decisions and use our time well.
Yeah. And I want to talk about specifically maybe some of the most difficult decisions you had to help people make, or maybe one of the difficult situations that you were in. We're just going to take a short break with Ia and Meg, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. Segment 2 of Tidying Up with Ia Fekwa and Meg DeLong, two sisters whose new book is Tidying Up 100 Ways to Infuse Order and Joy into Every Area of Your Home. This is part 2, and I want to say that I was talking to Meg during the break, both of you, but Instagram, this is one way you connect with all of those people who need your help. And let's talk about that because you have, I think you said 165,000 Instagram followers.
Yes, yeah, we have a lot of people following us, and we're always like, okay, what can we bring to them today to help them feel like they can tackle their own lives, because, they might not be able to hire us, but we want them to come to our socials to be able to take something away, that they can apply either that day or in the weekend and really help themselves in their own homes.
Well, okay. So in doing so, there was one thing because I wanted to mention this because this is also in the book. If you you buy something new, you got to get rid of the old. Is that how you do it? Just don't bring some new something, whatever it happens to be, into the house to add to the collection. Not a good idea.
Yes, I
I
feel like,
think
oh, go ahead.
oh
Sorry.
um I don't think in everything in the home you have to do that, but let's just say like you have 4 white t-shirts in your closet and you find this like new white t-shirt you love and you love how it fits and you love how it makes you feel. I think a good rule of thumb is there's obviously a reason you were kind of looking for a new white shirt. So maybe find 1 or 2 that are in your closet that you've just stopped wearing because maybe they're not as bright as they were, or they've stretched out a little bit and you don't like how they look. Like, let's donate those or toss those, or, like I just feel like there's probably a reason why you're bringing a new one in.
So we have to, mindful, the word mindful comes up, right? We really have,
Very
yeah,
mindful.
mindful of our choices. And why do you think we aren't mindful of our how do we get ourselves in this situation to begin with?
I would
I
think you have to really like just like what Meg said before, like you either get you have to make a choice. Like you're but are you busting at the seams? Like you can't have like all the items and space. Like you have to
Yeah.
choose. And I think we've both like come to the realization we don't like feeling like our home is busting at the seams. So we have like pinpointed that that causes us anxiety. So it's not worth it to us to feel that way. And I don't think everybody, maybe not everybody feels that way, but I also feel like a lot of people can't understand that maybe that is what's causing them anxiety in their home. So I think, like, understanding that helps you be mindful, like, you're
Yeah.
like, "This isn't worth it. I wanna be able to open my closet and move my clothes on my rack. I don't want to I don't want it to be cram-packed where I can't see what I have." Like, that stresses me out.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, just to piggyback on that, is I don't think people take the time to think about how it's actually making them feel. They want something, let's say they see something online and they're like, I want those cute clothes. I'm gonna buy, let's say, 5 colors. Let's just say they bring 5 clothes into the house. And they're not thinking, okay, where am I going to put this stuff? They just want the thing, they act on it, and then they move forward. But instead, I'm like, oh my goodness. And we go into these people's houses, and I'm like, there's truly not enough space to put those 5 items anymore. I mean, we just worked with a client who is the most lovely person in the world. They built a new closet and they were so excited about having all this space. And her husband was like, where's my stuff going to go? Because her stuff took up everything and they thought they were going to have ample amount of room and they didn't. And that made us really sad because we're like, we're so sorry. Like, we can only do so much. Like, we aren't, I mean, I feel like we're pretty close to magicians at this point, but we're not, we're not, we can't come up with these like huge miracles. We're like, okay, there's just too much stuff to be housed in this space. And That's a bummer, that
Yeah.
comes down to just being a real bummer because they wanna feel good in their clothes, they're excited to buy something, but let's not keep 100 leggings, are you ever gonna wear 100 of them, and so
Yeah.
really thinking through, like, it's gonna take you years to wear all of this stuff, and so
And
just
as you're
being
saying, there's this kind of impulsive buying that's made much easier because you can buy stuff online. I
yeah.
mean, 20 years ago, you had to actually go out and go to a store and buy it, but now you can it make and delivered by Amazon, and then you are overwhelmed by all this I think, don't you think so? It happens much more
Oh,
Oh,
easily.
yes.
Yeah.
And you could get it
um
that day, like,
Yeah.
just the amount of time too. Like, I think I was just thinking of this, like, this is how mindful I think both Meg and I are, and not to say we're normal, we definitely aren't. But when I'm even thinking about, "Oh, I would love to have such and such small appliance for my kitchen." Like, let's just use, like, I could really use like a KitchenAid mixer, which in all actuality, I wouldn't because I don't enjoy baking or anything
Yeah.
like that. But let's just use that as an example. In my home, I know I can't get another small kitchen appliance. I do not have the space to store it. Like, and I feel like a lot of people don't even think of that. Like, I know if I wanted like a new crock pot, I have to get rid of my crock pot because I do not have the space. So I literally am so intentional just about even those things. And I feel like we go into a lot of homes where people are, they're their cup is running over with small appliances.
Yeah.
They do not have they do not have a spot for them, and it really comes down to that. Like, I feel like it's so silly, but I mean, you really even have to think about that. And I do think that how quickly we get items now, like, causes that. Like, you say, "Oh, I want a new toaster. This toaster's so cute," and you hit order, and it's there later that day, and you
Yeah.
haven't even had time to think about what you're gonna do with it.
Yeah. And also, and this brings me to the next question about because you're talking about there has to be a space for it. What about downsizing? I mean, you have a whole group now of baby boomers who are downsizing, going from big houses to apartments or lofts or wherever. And so I assume that you probably that's a population that you work with, and they have to
yeah.
get rid of, I shouldn't say get rid of, but they have to decide what they're going to take and what they're not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I honestly really love working with people in that part of their life because typically, if they want to downsize and they have gotten rid of that guilt of like keeping a bigger home for their family, and they're so proud of themselves for just making that decision of like, okay, I'm going to get a smaller house, or I'm going to get a townhouse, or I'm going to live in this community. Like, they're already geared towards, okay, I'm accepting this new season of life. So what do I want to bring into that? And so I feel like working with people like that is like it's kind of the perfect place because I will say for the most part, they're ready to get rid of the things that have taken up so much of their life and so much of their space for so long. They kind of know what they want to carry forward, and they're willing to make those hard decisions on like, okay, I need to see if my kids want to keep this stuff, because I'm over it. I don't want to keep their stuffed animals
Yeah.
anymore. So I feel like for the most part, when people are downsizing, they obviously still need a buddy because I think physically, the physical work of purging and getting rid of things and then being able to take it to a donation spot or whatever it is, they need help doing that part. They need help with the physical part, but I feel like they're ready for the mental part, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I'm thinking about it also gives kind of a sense when you're getting rid of the old stuff, there's a future of new stuff, of
Oh,
stuff that fits,
yes.
right? And it's kind of a new beginning in a good way,
Yeah,
not in a sad way. You're going to get, yeah,
absolutely. I feel like I feel like the people that are ready to downsize, I mean, I love it because they're just like, I'm
mm,
not keeping this crap anymore.
yeah.
It's just like they are so excited. Like they don't want to be responsible for people's stuff anymore. They just want to live their life. they don't want to be in charge of anything or anyone, you know, and so they're
Yeah.
just like ready, and that's the best.
You know, you talk about it's stressful to keep all this stuff, and it takes up a lot of mental and physical energy that you could use in a much more positive way, is what I hear you saying. And
Yeah.
it's exhausting, isn't it? It's exhausting. Like if you wake up in the morning and you've got a closet full of stuff and you're going to work, for instance, and you have to weed through it to find out what you want to wear rather than having, say, 5 or 10 outfits that you would wear all, that you wear all the time. Like you have to, it takes up I'll repeat it, it's exhausting and stressful to have to
Yeah.
make those kinds of choices.
I mean, I think it's so stressful. I mean, that is like so much what our book is about is you don't need all of this added stress in your life. Like what you said is like exactly a point that we make. Like literally opening your closet door starts your day off in a stressful way. And I don't feel like that's what any of us want.
Yeah.
No. I mean, yeah, because it's like you're already getting like, let's say you do have kids, and we talk about kids so much just because that's the phase of life that we're in, but
Yeah.
you're trying to get them to school, you're trying to get everyone fed, you're trying to get yourself fed, you're trying to get yourself ready, and do you really want and again, coming back to like, if you're keeping clothes that are too small for you, or too big for you in your closet, then you're like, okay, I feel ugly. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
starting my day and I don't even feel good about myself. Like, that's just so many, like, that's a double and a triple whammy right off the bat of like, I can't find anything to wear that makes me feel good. And I'm like rushing around. Like, that sounds horrible to me.
Yeah, and it does. And as you mentioned, say you have 2, 3, 4 kids and you're doing the same with their stuff. You open their closet door, you're trying to get ready. You've got 3 kids, you're trying to get off to school or wherever. And you got to do the same thing with them. And you can't find any of anything for them to wear. So you're already starting off not a good day, actually.
Yeah, I'm like, that
Like,
sounds like my
yeah.
worst nightmare, like
I know
right
I'm like,
there.
I'm getting anxious just thinking about
I
it.
know. It's like, get rid of this stuff,
I
right?
just,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think kind of going back to what Ia said, I just don't think people think about how it makes them feel. And that's so it makes us sad is that, we were just talking to someone the other day about how people I don't feel like realize that they deserve to feel the opposite.
Mhm.
They deserve to feel good. They can walk into their closet or walk into their bathroom to put their makeup on, and they have this stuff right there that works for them, and like they don't have to question anything. They just walk in, they get ready, and they feel ready and good for the day. I think a lot of people don't realize that that's obtainable for them, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be Instagram worthy. It just needs to work for them to like set up their day to where it flows well.
I'm glad you brought up the bathroom thing because I do have that issue. I'll have old lipsticks that I don't wear, but maybe I might, but maybe, or old creams that I'm get rid of them. Like you said, go in and have whatever you need, your creams, your lips, but you don't
Yeah.
need to save 20 of them because for what? For why? That's not a good way to start the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that comes back to, I feel like that reminds me about the whole principle of, okay, well, I spent money on it, I should keep it, right? And
Yeah.
so, because yeah, being a woman's expensive. I mean, we have all the creams and makeup, it can get pricey. So I feel like we feel guilty whenever you're like, okay, I bought this moisturizer for, let's say, 40, $50. And then you're like, oh, it actually didn't work, but I should keep it. And it's like,
Yeah.
why? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. I mean, we have found lipstick and eyeshadow from like the 90s in people's makeup drawers, and it smells like the 90s. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is time to get rid of this. But I will say, just a little extra bonus. I did a free download on our website if you pre order our book, and there is a whole template of expiration dates for makeup and beauty products, and you would be shocked at how quickly those things go bad, and you just don't think about it, because we all keep stuff for so long, but it's like your moisturizer, it can go bad if you're not using it. So do you really want to keep it for 10 years, you know?
Yeah. So what is that's interesting. So what is the average? I always look on the, on food, is this something that I have to get rid of? But I never thought about that with makeup. So let's take the average lipstick. I mean, if you can tell us,
Let,
but like,
let me see. I will bring that up right now. So let's see. The average lipstick is 2 years. So that's a good amount of time.
yeah.
That's if you're not going through it. But the thing that blew my mind was, let's see. Um, which one was it? Oh, anything with like your eyes, like eyeliner, mascara, stuff like that, was like 3 months. So if you're not like
Oh
most of the time,
gosh.
Wow.
That
I
is
well,
short.
Yeah.
I know, but most of the time you're going like, see, again, I know I'm like a little bit minimal. I go through my stuff and then I buy the thing again because I know it
Yeah.
works for me and I stick with that. It's just easier for me. Um, but I go through my mascara with that amount of time. So I don't have to worry about that. But even like perfume, like it can go, I mean, it sounds sick, but it can kind of go rancid. So you have 1 to 2 years for that. But I keep mine for like I thought I could keep mine for years. Hair brushes, like you should be getting a new one every single year. I mean, we hate to talk about this. I remember seeing an
Yeah.
Oprah episode where a lady used her disposable razor for like 10 years.
Oh,
That's like you're supposed to toss that thing every 5 to 7 shaves, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. We get that one, but yeah. But the other list, I mean, I'm going after the show, I'm going to head straight for my makeup, yeah, drawer and get rid of all this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that most women really know that. The lipstick thing,
No.
I'm really surprised. And also another reason for getting rid of lipstick is your skin tone changes. Everything changes year to
Oh,
year
yeah.
anyway, right? And you need different colors. Um, what about, now this is kind of an entirely different topic, but what's the difference between like just normally accumulating all this stuff and hoarding?
Ooh,
Oh
that,
gosh.
what's
That's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
So I'll speak on that a little bit
okay.
because I feel like we've only, I would truly say in almost 7 years, we have probably only worked with maybe two people that really were borderline hoarders. And what's freaky about this, they knew every single thing that they had. They remember it. It is not like that's what makes it harder is because a person that like an average person that's just accumulating stuff, they forget what they have. They're just like, "Oh, I forgot I bought like 5 macaronis," or
Yeah.
I forgot that I had this a hoard like someone that is truly like on the hoarding spectrum, they know every single thing that they have. They might not know exactly where it is, but they know it's somewhere in their house. We were helping a lady get rid of stuff. I thought we were there to like get rid of stuff. Like that's what
Yeah.
we were hired to do. I go in and I was like, okay, anything that looks like trash, like I'm good to throw away. She's like, yes. So I started tossing things that truly looked like trash. Well, after we left that day, that night, she texted me and it's like, did you see this ripped off? I mean, this was so specific. She said, did you see that, like the back of a checkbook, how it's like kind of like cardboard? It would have been ripped off, but it had all of her passwords on it. And I was like, you think it looked like trash? She's like, yeah, it probably did. And I was like, I think that thing's gone.
Yeah.
But she knew exactly what it looked like, what was on it, and she knew it was somewhere in there. And that blew my mind
Yeah.
because I was like, what's in this house, and they don't want to get rid of it.
That's a great answer because that's the first time I've heard that distinction, and it makes a lot of sense. Because that when you get into hoarding, as you're describing it, even it's a psychological issue,
Mm,
a mental disorder, an addiction, actually, in certain ways, right?
yeah.
Um, but remembering everything that they have, which is, you're right, different from perhaps the rest of us who just can't remember that you got all this stuff, right? Right.
Yeah.
Weird.
I
Absolutely.
mean,
I feel like
I
that's a
think
big
that's
distinction.
I think that's when we realized we're not qualified to help those cases because it is such a mental, like
Yeah.
we're not we can't help that side. Like we can help like the average person who just has too much stuff, but if you're really attached and you know every little thing that you have even though it's insane, that requires a different level of help.
Yeah. One of the things you do, we don't have that much time left, but I do want to get into kind of like how you actually navigate when you get into somebody's house, how you start out. Like you talk about, like you choose one small area to begin with, right? You're not tackling the whole house. You have them pick or where you want to start. Is that true? Is
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people typically come to us with one space in mind. They might eventually want us to do their whole house, but we typically start in like a laundry room, kitchen, or pantry.
And then how much time do you spend?
Well, for us, we're since we are professionals at it, I mean, we've actually gotten pretty quick. So, an average pantry that's like a walk-in, we're typically there about 3 or 4 hours, and that's us as like a team of like 3 or 4 going in. We pull everything out, so it gets a little crazy, in the middle for sure, but we pull everything out, we look at all the expiration dates, we wipe everything down, that way it's truly like a clean slate, and then but this is the thing that's really cool is whenever I do go to consultations and I write quotes for people after that, I've already like kind of pre-planned the space. I'm like, okay, this is where this stuff's going to go. This is where this stuff's going to go. So when we actually go in to organize for people, it's pretty quick because I've already kind of pre-planned in my mind of like, okay, this is where dinner needs to go. This is where their snacks need to go. And I've already thought through that. But really, whenever we're in people's houses, it's determining expirations and if they're actually like using something, like some people keep their appliances in their pantry. So we really like to talk to them of like how often are they using certain things.
And I understand is in the book you talk about what you keep, what you toss, what you donate. That's kind of part of the system as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is a huge part of it is okay, let's have these three categories. And that really does help simplify it for people.
And what I think we've covered actually, that's kind of that's the basic system, right? That's what you use. Now, how in terms of time, like do you go in once and do this twice? I mean, usually what's the time frame, I guess, for
I
doing
think
all
like
this? Yeah.
I think this is something that we've definitely more so adapted as we have learned more, but it's really beneficial. Like, if somebody does have a lot of stuff, it's beneficial to offer them like a revising session to start. So we can have a separate time where one or two people from our team go in and help the person make those decisions before, and then we come in on another day and then organize what they've decided to keep.
Okay, so now tell us, because we have a couple minutes left, websites we can go to. I know Instagram, there are a lot of places that we can reach you and that people want to reach you after hearing all this. I mean, you guys are great. There's a lot to think about. So where do we go for the information?
Yeah, you can go. I mean, you can always go to our website. It's thetidyhomenashville.com. There's so much information on there about the spaces we do, pictures, things of inspiration, actually like shoppable posts. So if you want to do it yourself, you can click on certain pictures and it will take you to where you can kind of shop the inspo. And everything about our book is on there and the downloads that we offer as well. So you can kind of get started off on the right foot, like these checklists and things. So our website is a great place for you to like kind of like look around, see if there's anything of interest to you, and you can sign up for our newsletter. We send out a weekly newsletter to just kind of going over things that we're doing, things that we're learning, spaces that we love, and products that we love. And then you can also, yeah, Instagram and Facebook are our biggest platforms for us to help people. And we're the Tidy Home Nashville on those.
Fantastic. You guys have been great. And I just want to mention Ia Thekwa and Meg DeLong, two sisters who are in the business of tidying up. And the title of their book is Tidying Up 100 Ways to Infuse Order and Joy into every area of your home. Thanks so much for being on the show today. Lots of
Thank
great information.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank